Welcome again to the webinar on how to use Vendio to send items to Etsy and then manage those items from within your Vendio account. My name is Nathan, and Sylvia, Vendio's Senior Product Manager, is also here to help answer questions. There will be time for questions at the end, so please do type your questions into the question box during the webinar. You can just go ahead and type them in as you think of them, and then at the end we will do our best to answer those questions for you. During today's webinar, we will be covering topics such as how to import your existing Etsy items into Vendio, how to create an item from scratch and send it to Etsy, how to use variations when creating items in Vendio for Etsy, how to list your existing eBay items to Etsy, and also where you can find your Etsy orders from within your Vendio account. Let's go ahead and get started by adding an Etsy account to Vendio. So in order to do this, we are going to start by going to Preferences at the top right of the page in your Vendio account. And then on the Preferences page, we'll select Channels from the drop-down box at the top of the page. Then we'll just scroll down to the Etsy section and click this blue button that says Link My Etsy Account. Once you click that button, you will be redirected to Etsy. If you're not logged into your Etsy account, then you'll just go ahead and log in. Once you are logged in, you'll get this message. It's just letting you know what permissions you are giving Vendio to do on your behalf for your Etsy account. Go ahead, take a look, make sure that you are okay with all of this and that you agree with it. And if you are, then just go ahead and click the Allow Access button at the bottom of the page. Once you have clicked that button, you'll be redirected back to your Vendio account and get this confirmation message, just letting you know that you have successfully connected your Etsy account to Vendio. Once you're there, just go ahead and click the OK button. Now that we have connected our Etsy account to Vendio, we can go ahead and import our existing Etsy items into our Vendio account. So let's click the Save and Close button at the bottom of the page. And then we're going to go to Items in the menu at the top, and then Import Items. And once we are on the Import Items page, we'll go ahead and click on the Etsy button. And then we do have a few different options here for the import, so we'll take a look at those. You first can choose to either import all of your Etsy items. That includes your live, closed, expired, and also draft listings, or you can choose to only import your live items. And let's go ahead and select to import all. And then the next option we have is your item allocation strategy. We have three different options: the committed, shared, and unlimited. With committed, what this means is that you specify the quantities you want to sell on each marketplace. So for example, let's say that you have a quantity of 10 items and you're selling on both Etsy and eBay. Then you might specify a quantity of 5 for eBay and a quantity of 5 for Etsy. Then let's say that one of those items sells on eBay. Your eBay quantity would be reduced to 4 and your Etsy quantity would remain at 5. The shared strategy, on the other hand, allows you to share those quantities across marketplaces. So in that same example, that quantity of 10 would be sent to both eBay and Etsy. So you would have a quantity of 10 on both marketplaces. And then when an item sells on eBay, in the same example, both your Etsy and eBay quantities would be reduced by a quantity of 1 and would be a quantity of 9 instead. Most of the time I would recommend using the shared listing strategy. There's a very slight possibility of overselling if, for example, that quantity of 10 was to be purchased from both eBay and Etsy right around the same time, not giving our system enough time to update, then there is that slight possibility of overselling. So that is why some people would rather choose the committed strategy. And then the third strategy is unlimited, and this is a great strategy for those that are able to get virtually an unlimited supply of the items that they're selling. Maybe you make your items to order and you have the supplies that you need to make those items, and you can make them pretty quickly. Then you might choose the unlimited strategy, and that allows you to keep selling even if your inventory quantities go into the negative. It allows you to keep selling those items to people that are purchasing them. Then the next options are the profiles. These are the profiles you would want associated with the imported Etsy items. The information in these profiles that you select will be used when you send the items to other marketplaces, such as eBay. They are not used for the actual Etsy items themselves. It would only be used for the other marketplaces. If you only intend on using Vendio for Etsy, or if maybe you want to create your profiles for other marketplaces later, then you can just continue without any profiles selected at all. Or if you wanted to create some, you could click the green plus button to the right in order to create those profiles. Again, the profiles are not needed for selling on Etsy or on Amazon Handmade if you're selling on that marketplace. And then last, we have our Vendio store options. You can choose to automatically add your Etsy listing categories as Vendio store categories, or you can also choose to automatically make your newly imported items visible in the Vendio store. Once you have selected all of the settings you would like, go ahead and click the Import My Etsy Inventory button. And then you can check the status of the import on this main import items page by clicking the View Import Status button at the bottom left of the page. All right, while we wait for this import to complete, let's go ahead and create an item from scratch and then send it over to Etsy. To do this, we are going to go to Items in the menu at the top of the page, and then Create Items. And then at the bottom of the page, you can select all of the marketplaces where you want to sell and where you want to send this new item. For the purpose of today's webinar, we're just going to focus on Etsy right now. So let's go ahead and just check the box for Etsy. You'll notice that once we check the box for Etsy, the Etsy info tab appears at the top left of the page, and your Etsy category options appear at the bottom of the page. We're going to be listing a bracelet today. So let's select the jewelry category and then the bracelets category, and we're going to list a beaded bracelet. So we'll select the beaded bracelets category. Once you've selected the Etsy category, just click the select button and you'll see that it is now showing here. And so then we are going to click next at either the bottom right or top right of the page in order to go to the item info tab. Note also that you can use the tabs at the top left of the page to go between pages as well. The next button will take you through the process in order and is usually the best for creating a new item. But the tabs at the top allow you to go back and forth if you need to, and are really useful if you're editing an existing item. On the item info tab, you'll notice that some of the fields are in green, like the title field here at the top, and some of the fields are in black. The fields that are in green are your required fields and will need to be filled out in order to save the item, and the fields that are in black are optional. Let's start by giving the item a title. And then we're also going to want to add an image. So we'll go ahead and click the Add Images button. If the images are not yet in your account, then you can just click the Upload button here and then select the image or images that you need to upload. If they are already in your account, then you can just go and find them where they are. Put a check mark in the box underneath the image name, and then click Attach Selected. And you can attach multiple images at once if you're using more than one image. And then you can see the image shows here. Next, we are going to add a description for the item. So let's put in a description. And then we're going to want to put in our item price. And then you can see here too, if you want different profiles associated with this item. For example, again, if you're selling on other marketplaces such as eBay, then you can go ahead and select those there. And also, if you're using any calculated shipping options, you can add in the item dimensions here. And we're just going to go ahead and put in some item dimensions and the basic package size. And then once you have filled out all of the information on this page, just go ahead and click the next button, and we'll continue on to the inventory tab. At the top, you can see a SKU's already been filled out for you. Feel free to change it if you would like. Otherwise, the item will just use the randomly assigned SKU that Vendio has created for you. But you are welcome to change that to your own SKU if you would rather. And then you want to enter in the total quantity that you have for sale. And also choose your item allocation strategy that we discussed earlier. I'm going to select shared. You can then also add in the cost, your cost. So this is how much it costs you to either acquire or create, most likely create the item since you're selling on Etsy. And so we'll go ahead and enter that information in there. This information is not shown to your buyers, but it is very useful with some of the reporting that is in your Vendio account. This information can be used to help calculate your profit and loss. So if you do have this information handy, I would recommend entering it in. It can be really useful in figuring out how your selling strategies are working for you, and how much profit you're making on the items that you're selling. And then there are some other optional fields here as well that you can fill in. You can click the advanced link and that'll pull up even more. These are, for the most part, for your own internal tracking purposes. In case there's some information about the item that you would like to keep track of, you can even add some custom fields at the end if you would like to. And then once you are done with this tab, just go ahead and click the next button. And now we are on the Etsy info tab. This is where the bulk of your Etsy information can be entered in, but you'll see that much of it has already copied over. For example, when you look here, you can see the title field's been copied over. And for those fields, you'll notice that there is an icon with 2 links of a chain that are connected. And what this means is that the data in these fields has been copied over from a previous tab. Usually that's the item info tab. And the reason for that is that way if you are listing an item on multiple marketplaces, you'll only need to enter in that information that's shared across those marketplaces once. So for example, if you were also selling on eBay, the same information would show up automatically in the eBay tab. If you do want to change any of this information so that it's different for one marketplace but not for the other, then you can simply click the icon of the chains to break it and then put in whatever changes you would like just for this specific marketplace. So you can see here that this item already has the title, the price, the images, quantity, description, and category are all already copied over. And so next we are going to fill out the fields that are specific to Etsy and to the Etsy category that we selected. Just a reminder that the fields in green are required, but you should probably fill in as many of the not required fields as possible if they are appropriate to the item that you're selling and you do have that information available. So for example, we'll fill out the primary color is red and the secondary color is white. And then you could fill out these other fields as well. I'm just going to scroll down to the next required field, which is the about the listing field. And so we'll go ahead and say who made it and whether it's a finished product or a supply, and also when it was made. And then the next setting is the renewal options. So that's whether you want the item to automatically renew on Etsy or to have it be renewed manually. So go ahead and select that option. And then we have some more of the optional fields that you can fill in. And then near the bottom here, we have the shipping options section. And so you will want to select the shipping option that you would like to use. You will need to select an existing Etsy shipping profile. If you do have an Etsy profile that you've already created in your Etsy account, but you're not seeing it here, then just go ahead and click the Retrieve My Etsy Shipping Profiles button, and it should be pulled in for you. And you can then select the profile you would like. So we're going to go ahead and select this fixed shipping profile. And then you can see here also that the weight and item size that we entered in earlier is already automatically showing up in the Etsy tab. And now we can choose our publishing options. We can either just save the data without publishing on Etsy, or we can choose to publish on Etsy as a live item, or we can choose to just publish it on Etsy as a draft item. We're going to go ahead and click to publish as a live item. And then at the bottom right, you have three options. You can click cancel if you want to discard all these changes, or you can click save and clone. And save and clone is a really good option. What it does is that if you click this option, then the item will be saved and sent to Etsy if that's the selection that you chose. And then a completely new item will be created and opened with all of the same settings that are in this item. You can then edit that cloned item to make any necessary changes. This is a really useful option if you have items to list that are very similar to each other. Then maybe you only have one or two fields you need to change, and then you can go ahead and list it on out. For this, we're going to go ahead and click the Save button, which will save this item with the settings that we have. And in this case, since we have it set to publish, we'll send it on over to Etsy. If there are any errors, they will be displayed in red. Otherwise, we should get a green message letting us know that the item has successfully been saved. So let's take a look and see what we get. Oh, and there's that green message letting us know that the item has been saved successfully. So we can now check the status of this item by going to Channels and the menu at the top, and then My Listings. And we're currently looking at Etsy for the channel and Scheduled for the view. And we can see that this item is currently scheduled to go out and is in process of being sent to Etsy. Once the listing is successful, it should show under the active view right here. And if the listing fails with an error, then you should be able to find the details under the errored view here. All right, next, let's go ahead and take a look at how to create an item with variations from scratch and send it over to Etsy. To do that, we'll go to Items and then Create Items. And this is a very similar process to the item that we just created. So for the purpose of this webinar, we will focus on what is different between the two processes. So we're again going to check the box for Etsy at the bottom of the page. And then we're going to select our category for what is similar to what we just went over. I'm going to go a little bit faster this time. And then we select the category. And then this is important, since you have variations, you want to make sure you check the box for I have more variations of this item, such as color and size. So we'll check that box. And you can see that the inventory tab now says inventory and variations. And then we'll click the next button to go to the item info tab. And we will fill in our item's information. And add in an image. And our item description. And our item price. and then we will go ahead and click the next button. And we're now on the Inventory and Variations tab, which looks very similar to the Inventory tab, except we now have a Variations box. And so we do need to add the attributes that we are going to use. So we're going to click the Add Attribute button, and then we're going to select the type of variations that we want to be using. If you do need to create a new type of variation, like right here we have color, size, and flavor, maybe you have a different one that you want to use, you would just select New Attribute, and then you can go ahead and type in the name of the variation. And then once you've typed in the name of the new variation, you can add the different attributes that you want by typing them in here and clicking the green plus button after each one. For what we're doing though, we're going to be using the existing ones. We're going to be using color and size today. So we'll go ahead and select color. And you can see that we have 3 colors set up right now, red, blue, and purple. We only have red and blue that we're using though, so I'm just gonna remove purple from the variation list by clicking the minus button to the right of purple. And we now have colors set up with just red and blue. And I'm just gonna click OK so that I can apply that variation to this item. And then next, we also want to use size as a variation. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add Attribute again. And then I'm going to select size from the drop-down box. And right now for sizes, we have small, medium, large, and extra large. But I want to do the length of the bracelet for the different variations. So I'm going to remove these 4. And then I'm just going to add in the variation values that we have for the bracelet. So I'm just typing in the name of one, clicking the plus button, and just repeating until I'm done. You can also use the Enter key. It's a little bit quicker. And then once you've added them all, just go ahead and click the OK button. All right, now we need to add the different variations that we have. You got a couple choices. You could click this Add Variation button one time for each one that you want, and then change the settings here. Or what is usually the best option and a lot easier to do is instead click the Generate Variations button. And when you click this button, it will automatically create all of the different variations that can be created based on the attributes that you've added. So let's click that now and I'll show you what I mean. And so you can see that we now have every type of variation based on the 2 colors and the 5 sizes. So you see we've got red here 5 times, one with 6 inches, once with 7, once with 8, once with 9, and once with 10. And then the same thing with blue. So those have been automatically created for us and saved a little bit of work there. So now you want to go ahead and enter in the quantities that you have for the variations. If you do have the same quantity for all of them, then you would just click the pencil icon here next to the total quantity column, and then you can set the quantity for all of the variations at once. Or if you had different quantities, then you could put those quantities in manually here. And if you do need to make changes to any of the other areas here, you can. Maybe you have different prices for different variations, then you could edit the price field in order to give them different prices. Or maybe you want to use your own SKUs instead of the Vendio created SKUs. You could make that change in the SKU section here. And then once you're ready and you've filled in everything else that you want filled in on this tab, just go ahead and click the next button. And so if you are using multiple variation attributes, then Etsy rules will require that you select which attribute to base the images that you are using on. So we're going to use color for the attribute that we're going to base our images on, since the size probably won't look that different in the picture, but the color will. So that one makes more sense. So we'll select color here and then OK. And this looks similar to the last tab, but we are on a different tab. We are on the Etsy info section now, and you can see that the information we entered in has been copied over. And now we need to enter in our images. So the first 5 are red. So let's go ahead and select our red image. So I'll just click where it says no image. We're going to do it by color. So I'm going to click add image. And then I'm just going to go look for that red bracelet image right here and attach selected. And then click OK. And you can see that that image is then added to all of the red variations. So we only have to do it that one time. And then we're going to do the same thing for the blue image. And there we go. So now we've added in the images for our variations. And so yeah, the rest of the listing process is basically the same as what we looked at earlier in this webinar. You've got your variations set up, and you can just continue by filling in the rest of your optional and required Etsy information, and then list the item at the bottom of the page. All right, let's go ahead and move on to taking a look at how to send your eBay items to Etsy. If you are already using Vendio to list to eBay, or if your eBay items are already in your Vendio account, then you've already completed one of the steps and you're partway there. If not, then you will need to add your eBay account to Vendio first and import your eBay listings. So let's go ahead and do that. And to do that, we are going to go to Preferences at the top right of most pages in your account. And then we're going to select Channels from the drop-down box at the top. And I do already have my eBay account added. If you do not, you would just click a button to add your eBay account. It's a very similar process to Etsy. You'll be redirected to log into your eBay account. Get a very short message from eBay letting you know what you're agreeing to, and that Vendio will be able to access your eBay account on your behalf. Make sure you read it and agree with it, and then click to continue, and you'll be directed right back here to your Vendio account, where you should then see your eBay account listed here. And you do have the option of having multiple eBay accounts associated with Vendio at once. So if you are using more than one eBay account, feel free to go ahead and add them all here as well. And then once you're done, you just click Save and Close at the bottom of the page. And now that we've got the eBay account added, let's go ahead and import our eBay items by going to Items, Import Items. And then we're going to click the eBay icon this time. And then we're going to select the options that we want applied to our imported eBay items. First, you can select which eBay account you would like to use. Then you can select your item allocation strategy again. We're going to do shared. You can choose to either only import your active eBay listings, or you can import your active and recently closed eBay listings. You can choose to import all of your eBay active eBay listings, or you can limit it to certain eBay store categories. If you are selling on eBay, maybe you have some handmade items and some that are not. Maybe those handmade items are in their own eBay store category, and those are the only ones you want to import to sell to on Etsy, then you can do that. On the other hand, though, you might want to just import them all, and then you can manage your eBay items through Vendio as well. But you do have that option if you would like to use it. And then finally, your Vendio store settings. You do have the option to automatically create Vendio store categories out of your eBay listing categories or out of your eBay store categories. And you do also have the option of making your newly imported items immediately visible in your Vendio store and more commerce if you're selling there. And then once you have all of these settings the way you would like them, go ahead and click the Import My eBay Items button. And again, you can check the status of this import from the Import Items page by clicking the View Import Status button at the bottom left. And while we are waiting for the eBay items to import, let's go ahead and take a look at those Etsy items that we imported earlier and see how they can be sent to eBay. So to do that, we're going to go to Items and then My Items. And then I'm just going to clear this out here. So I'm on the main view here, and we're going to want to only view the Etsy items. So we're going to go to Folders and then select Etsy Imported to pull up the items that were imported in from Etsy. All right, and then what we can do is we can click on the title of one of these items in order to edit it. And then we're going to check the box to sell on eBay. You can see that the box for Etsy is already checked, but we also want to sell on eBay. So we'll go ahead and check that box. And then we'll select our eBay category. So let's see, we'll want jewelry and watches, fashion jewelry, and then bracelets, and then select. And you can see we now have both the eBay and Etsy categories showing here, and also both the eBay and Etsy tabs are now showing in the top left. And then we'll go ahead and click the Next button. We're now on the Item Info tab. And you should notice here that the information in the Item Info tab should already be filled in with the data that was imported from Etsy. You can change it if you need to, but take a look at it, make sure it all looks right. We got the title is imported, we got our images, item description, the price, and we'll just go ahead and click Next. That all looks correct to me. And now we are on the inventory tab. And the same thing here again, if you need to make any changes, go ahead and make changes. We got the right item allocation strategy. I want to have our cost put in here just because I like having that information handy. And then once that's all correct, we'll go ahead and click Next again. And now we are on the eBay Info tab, and this is where we can fill in our eBay specific information. You should again see that most of the fields in green, which are the required fields, have already been filled in based on the Etsy information. You do though want to make sure that the data here is correct, and also fill in any other green fields or even any optional fields that you also want to use. So let's take a look there. We got our category, we got the listing formats correct, price is correct, duration, I want this good till canceled, so I'm going to change that. Title's correct. We do need to fill in the item condition. So we got the item condition filled in. Let's see. Oh, we definitely have to fill in the brand that is required. So I'm just going to do unbranded, or actually I'm going to do handmade for this one since it's handmade. And then just go on through and fill in any of the other information that is appropriate for your item. You can choose a template for the eBay listing here. You got plenty of options to browse through if you would like to use one of our listing templates. We got the default profiles already applied. You could change them if you needed to. You could use a different eBay account if you have more than one associated with your Vendio account. Our description's already here, images are already here, and there we are. Now we are at the Preview at eBay button. So once you are ready, you do want to click this button. If there is an error message, it should let you know what the problem is so that you can correct it. Well, let's take a look and see if we get a successful preview. And there we go. So our item has previewed successfully. And we'll just go ahead and click close. And now that the preview has been successful, you can select your launch options at the bottom of the page. You can choose to save and not launch the item yet, or you can choose to launch a single listing, or you can set up an eBay launch profile to automatically launch your listing based on rules. And that's a really good option to use if you have certain ways that you want and times that you want your listing listed, then you might want to take a look at the eBay launch profiles. But once you are ready, you would just go ahead and click the Save button at the bottom right of the page. And assuming you selected to launch the listing, it will be sent on over to eBay. And then you can just repeat this process with any of the other items that you've imported from Etsy that you would like to send over to eBay. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the import that we did from eBay. And to do that, we're gonna go to Items, and then My Items. And then we're gonna clear the filter here that's only showing our Etsy imported. And here's our imported eBay item right here. For the purpose of this webinar, we just have the one item that was imported. And you can see that it's the one with the quantity that is currently on eBay. And so now we're just gonna click on the title of the item to edit it. And then we want to send this item over to Etsy. So we're going to check the box for Etsy near the bottom of the page. And then we're going to enter in our Etsy listing category. So that's jewelry, bracelets, beaded bracelets, and then we'll click select. And again, you'll see that now both the eBay info and Etsy info tabs are showing. And then we'll go ahead and click the next button. Most of the information should already be here and probably not need to be changed, but you can make any changes if you need to. And then once again, once you're ready, go ahead and click the next button until you get to the Etsy info tab. Also, if you wanted, you could skip directly there. If you are confident that the information was correct, you could just click Etsy info right here in the top left and go right to the Etsy section and just skip through the other tabs. It might go a little bit quicker for you that way. Once we are on the Etsy tab, you'll want to make any changes that you need to for the Etsy specific information in your listing. Also, again, being sure to fill out any of the green fields that are required or any of the optional fields that you would like to use. All right, so let's see here. This all looks good. We'll do primary color. Scroll on down. We do need to do the about the listing. And also the renewal options. And the shipping profile. And then we'll publish it as live. And then once you have entered in all of the information that you need to add and you are ready to send the item to Etsy, just go ahead and click the Save button at the bottom right of the page. And then you can just repeat that process for any other imported eBay items that you want to list to Etsy. All right, I did want to show you show you how the Etsy orders show in your Vendio account. Note at this point in time, it is only possible to view your Etsy order data in Vendio. We are working on adding full support for Etsy orders. So in the future, you'll be able to manage your Etsy orders through Vendio as well. And we do hope to have that available soon. But in the meantime, you can view your Etsy order data by going to Orders in the menu at the top and then Sold Items. And I'm actually going to pull up a different account. This account I'm in right now does not have any Etsy orders, but I have a different account here that I'm going to pull up for you that does. So let's take a look at this other account. I switched quickly and it looks very similar, but I am in a different account on a different browser now, I promise you. All right, and so now you can see here we have the marketplace account column, and this will let you know which orders are from which marketplace. So the first 10 or so, you can see our Amazon, and then we have an Etsy order right after those, another Amazon, a couple eBay, a couple more Amazon, and another Etsy order there. And to view, this is just the quick view with some of the basic data of the order, but you can view all of the information for the order by clicking the details button at the left of the order. So we're gonna go ahead and click there. And then this just contains all of the information about your order. It's got the SKU, it's got the item price. If you scroll down, you get the buyer's information and shipping address. There's tax or shipping prices that would show up here, and just all of that information for your order, so that you do have it available to view. And again, once we have enabled Etsy order support, you'll also be able to manage your Etsy orders from within Vendio. All right, just one final note, just a reminder that Vendio also supports selling on Amazon Handmade, and you can share your Etsy listings with Amazon Handmade or your eBay listings or both. So that is an option for any of you that either already sell on Amazon Handmade or are maybe looking at expanding to additional marketplaces. If you do have any questions about selling on Amazon Handmade, please do reach out to our support team for help. We are more than happy to help you out there. All right, this concludes the Vendio webinar on using Vendio to send items to Etsy and to manage those items in your Vendio account. I really hope you found the information in this webinar helpful, but let's take a look and see if there are any questions. I'm not seeing any questions yet, but I am going to give it a minute or two in case anyone has any questions. Please go ahead and type those into the question box. It's in the little webinar widget. So if you do have any questions, please go ahead and type those in now. Okay, it looks like there are not any questions. So I will remind you though that if you do have any questions or need help with anything in your Vendio account, you can always click the help link that's at the top right of the page in order to contact support, and we are always more than happy to help you out. So please do make sure that you reach out to us if you do need help with anything. And finally, I did want to also thank Sylvia for being here on the webinar today. So thank you very much, Sylvia, for joining us. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining us for the webinar. This concludes the webinar, and again, I really hope that you found it useful, and have a great day.